Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 387. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the program and greetings from Sin City. Before we dive into our article tonight, here's a quick update on what to expect for tomorrow. Now, Wednesday, we did our first live stream, and tomorrow, Sunday, we'll be doing the same exact thing. And moving forward, we'll be using Sundays for an open forum, an Ask Me Anything type of session, and a wrap-up about everything we've talked about throughout the week. So that's what you can expect every Sunday moving forward. And if you weren't able to participate on Wednesday or you're not able to participate this Sunday, no sweat. Be plenty more as we move forward and the year gets older and matures. Every single Sunday, as of now anyway, we'll be live streaming at 7 Pacific Standard Time. So if you'd like to participate and you have some questions for me and you might have sent me an email and I might have missed it, like I said previously, this is the perfect opportunity for you to pop on and ask a few questions. The last segment we did on Wednesday ended up with over 330 comments. So there was a lot of engagement, a lot of activity from the listeners, and I was trying to answer every single question that was put towards me. We spent about 2 hours together, and we'll see how long it goes on Sunday. I'm not going to put a time limit on it. We'll rock and roll until all the questions are asked and until we feel like we have covered our bases. So that's what you can expect tomorrow. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I hope that all of you are able to join me and to participate. All right, so moving on. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit more about the financials and how Jeffrey Epstein was given all sorts of fantastic treatment by the scuzzballs on Wall Street. All kinds of business opportunities, all kinds of paybacks for business steered towards places like Deutsche Bank or JP Morgan, and a slew of other activities that enriched Jeffrey Epstein, all the while he was engaging in a criminal enterprise. Tonight we have an article from Barron's, and this is an article from July 26th of 2019. And what we're going to discuss in this article is just another indictment on the financial sector, on these big banks, and how they conduct business with people like Jeffrey Epstein, all the while shitting on people like me and you. Imagine showing up to a bank, hat in hand, looking for a loan these days. You can't even do it. And I don't even mean because of COVID. You have to go through an algorithm. You send in an application. Does a person even look at it? Probably not. They take a look at your credit score, and if it's not good enough, or your debt-to-income ratio is too much, or whatever ridiculous excuse they decide to use, well, before you know it, you're looking at a 17, 18, 25% finance rate. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Epstein, arms smugglers, other human traffickers, all around scuzzballs, well, they're getting all kinds of stock offerings that are underwritten by banks. They're getting to jump on IPOs that come out and that they're able to flip real quick because of the bank basically guaranteeing it. And you haven't gotten those phone calls lately, I'm sure, have you? I know I haven't. My phone isn't ringing off the hook by Morgan Stanley offering me all kinds of IPOs with a guaranteed profit and a quick flip. But if you're Jeffrey Epstein, your phone was ringing off the hook. Your phone was ringing off of the hook. And these people couldn't wait to do business with you. And that's not even speculation at this point. There is plenty to go on. Deutsche Bank, $150 million fine. All of these other institutions that are being looked into by the SEC and other regulatory boards. Never mind the subpoenas that are being fired off by Denise George down in the Virgin Islands. These financial institutions have been taking advantage of all of us for way too long. These financial institutions have been worshiping the ground these sick bastards like Jeffrey Epstein walk on for way too long. And we see it over and over again as more of Jeffrey Epstein's financials, his life, and the way he conducted business comes to the surface. And this is just another article that we're going to add to the catalog tonight that reinforces the idea that the whole entire system is broken, that the financial sector is specifically set up to keep the rich building their wealth on the backs of the rest of us. And I'm not talking about workers of the world unite type shit, right? I'm not talking about a Marxist message or anything like that, folks. What I'm talking about is the financial sector worldwide engaging in absolute, obvious money laundering, criminal fraud, and other disgusting behavior, and no repercussions ever. All the while, after we bail them out, by the way, they still have the audacity to treat the people like absolute dog shit in the middle of this pandemic. Never mind the fact that interest rates are low. Never mind the fact that there's been all kinds of helicopter money to banking institutions even. You're not going to see any of that. You're not going to catch any of that on the back end. And why should you? When you start to take a look at these people, you start to take a look at how they conduct themselves and how greedy they are and how they're willing to roll around with somebody like Jeffrey Epstein simply to increase their wealth, to add another zero to their bank account. Meanwhile, the rest of the real world is in panic mode. I saw a food bank close to my house the other day, and it was full of cars. And I'm not talking about old beat-up jalopies, right? No hoopties. I'm talking about new cars. A lot of people are living above their means. And with this pandemic, people are really being leveraged. And all we keep seeing is the can being kicked down the road. Eventually, these bills are going to come due. And you think these banks are going to show any remorse or they're going to have any empathy for anybody? Hell no, they're not. And all the while they're living the high life, shitting on the rest of us, they're also palling around with Jeffrey Epstein and giving him the homie hookup on the IPOs, giving him the quick flip on the underwritten stock offerings from places like Morgan Stanley. You see, folks, it's not your neighbor who's the problem. It's not your Uncle Steve who voted for Trump, or your Aunt Linda who is a self-avowed democratic socialist. The real problem are these people that are pulling the financial strings. And until we wise up to that, and until the pitchforks and the torches realize that the gaslighting and the manipulation is in overdrive, these scuzzbag bankers are going to continue to take advantage of us and keep us, the whole entire world pretty much, in a form of modern-day slavery, where we are slaves to debt, where we are slaves to their consumerism. And the wheel keeps on turning. But guys like Jeffrey Epstein, they don't ever have to worry about that, especially from their big bankster buddies. Because at the end of the day, All these people care about is wealth. All they care about is adding more zeros to the bank account. And no matter how many rumors were out there, no matter that Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender, these institutions continued to do business with him. And folks, at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. All of the speculation or all of the other things that lead up to that point. Okay, but the fact of the matter is, these banks can say whatever they want and they can use whatever excuse they want, but they're the ones that played ball. They're the ones that got into bed with Jeffrey Epstein, and they should be the ones to suffer the repercussions. Penalties as far as financial, sure, the institution should have to eat it. But there should be personal liability for these CEOs and these division chiefs who okay these transactions and who work with people like Jeffrey Epstein. Is that going to be the case moving forward? I hope, but I have my doubts. Our article tonight is from Barron's. The headline, Jeffrey Epstein's foundation had access to 40 stock offerings underwritten by Morgan Stanley. This article was published on July 26th, and the author is Bill Alpert. Financier, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein's Gratitude America Limited Foundation was granted stock allocations in 40 underwritten offerings according to the foundation's 2017 tax return. Morgan Stanley led all those offerings and was the sole underwriter on 12 of them. Boy, isn't that nice. Imagine having this shell corporation, basically a slush fund. Imagine having this Gratitude America and getting granted all of these stock allocations. 40 underwritten offerings, 12 of them by Morgan Stanley. Oh, and you might say, oh, well, this has to be before he got arrested, Bobby, right? Come on, Bobby. Don't try and stretch the facts here. 2017, according to tax filings. How much more evidence needs to be presented that these banks, that these financial institutions were complicit in Jeffrey Epstein's criminal behavior? Now, again, I'm not saying that they were sitting around and part of the deal was they got to abuse the girls. No, this is all financial. When we're talking about this stuff here and these institutions, it is purely financial crimes that I'm talking about. These people are up to their eyeballs in financial crimes. Those allocations included the hot IPO of streaming TV provider Roku and secondary offerings from such companies as Tribune Media, Britain's OM Asset Management, and GoDaddy. In most cases, the foundation sold the shares at a quick profit according to the tax return. Yeah, that's what happens. They get access to these IPOs. They're underwritten, guaranteed, by these banks, and then these people, other rich guys, flip them for a guaranteed quick return. Quick money, baby. Slow money don't make money. Dead money don't make money. You can't make money if it's in neutral. You got to have that money grow a little bit, right? You want that money to mature. And what better way to do that than to have quick flips like this? Get a quick IPO. Oh, GoDaddy, that might be a decent secondary offering on the market, huh? Might be okay. Or how about Roku? I'm sure he made a couple of fazools on the old Roku. Sure wish Gordon Gekko was calling me and telling me where to move my money. Epstein, who pleaded guilty in 2008 to soliciting child prostitutes, claimed assets of more than $500 million, including $113 million in equities. In a recent unsuccessful bid to get out on bail after his July 8th arrest on federal charges of underage sex trafficking, Epstein has pleaded not guilty to the charges, $113 million in equities. I wonder how many of those were underwritten by places like J.P. Morgan. I wonder how much Jess Staley had to do with all of this. And I wonder how many more Epstein really had that are hidden from the public, that are hidden from the authorities, that are stashed offshore and managed by Lord knows who. I'm guessing not Fonseca Moseca anymore, right? I mean Mossack Fonseca. I'm guessing they're no longer managing any of the money. Deutsche Bank dropped Epstein this year as a client of its private wealth division, according to the Wall Street Journal. He had brought his money there in 2013 after years with J.P. Morgan Chase's private bank. And it's, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, right? Moves over to the new financial joint over at Deutsche Bank. And we all know that J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank and the rest of these institutions all conduct themselves the same. And don't get me wrong, right? These IPOs and the offerings of these sort of stocks to their clients, it's something that happens on a regular basis to their high-profile clientele. But be that as it may, you got to face the consequences of offering it to somebody like Epstein. And I'm sure if an audit was put into place, I'm sure a bunch of other scumbags would come up who also got this preferential treatment. So there's really no excuses for J.P. Morgan. There's no excuses for Deutsche Bank. There's no excuses for any of these financial institutions. Pretty much their whole entire function, besides, moving money around, is to make sure that people are on the up and up. Again, if you go ahead and try and make some structured withdrawals from your bank account and see how quickly you get the kibosh slapped on you. See how quickly you get a phone call talking about CTR and Title 31. The bank decided to end the relationship after the Miami Herald ran a series of articles last year about the plea deal granted Epstein in 2008 by Miami's then U.S. Attorney, Alexander Acosta, according to the Journal. After Epstein's recent arrest, Acosta resigned as U.S. Labor Secretary. Oh yeah, he resigned. That's exactly what happened. He went up there and he's such an honorable man, he resigned. Yeah, right. He was forced out. And rightfully so. He has no business representing a cabinet for the American presidency. He has no business representing the American people after his conduct in Florida. So yeah, he deserved to get the boot. But it shouldn't have stopped there. It should have went all the way up to every single person who signed off on this. Why did it die on the vine? Why did it die with Acosta? And why didn't the Miami Herald go even harder and go all the way up the chain? They certainly have the assets to do so now. I'm sure they could find advertisers to give them money to do so now. So what's stopping them? I'll give them a little hint. Start with Mukasey. Among the deals in which Morgan Stanley was the sole underwriter and in which Epstein's foundation got a cut were U.S. Foods Holding and Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings. Isn't that nice, huh? Must be nice to be a convicted pedophile, a convicted sex offender, and still get that phone call from Gordon Gekko. Hey, yo, Jeffrey, I know you're out there abusing people and trafficking humans, but I got this great stock deal for you. I'm going to go ahead and write it over. We're going to send it, we're going to underwrite it, and you can flip it and make a fortune, Jeffrey. I mean, that's probably what those conversations sound like, right? And then these same people that are offering this to Epstein are going home to their families and somehow looking at their children and feeling no remorse. I don't know what kind of sociopath you have to be to live like that, or what sort of spell of narcissism you have to be under. But man, I don't know how people can do it. I really don't know how. You're in a business association with Jeffrey Epstein, a guy with all this money, and you never Googled him, you have no idea, you're not disgusted by it. I mean, you have businesses, right, that you can't go into if you don't have a mask on. But yet Jeffrey Epstein is still allowed to conduct business when everybody knows that he's infected for sure? Just don't make sense to me, folks. And these businesses and the financial sector especially likes to play dumb, and they try and act like they have no responsibility, and it's not their fault. But it is. If you're going to position yourselves as such a powerful institution and be in charge literally of the lifeblood of the world, our money, then that comes with great responsibility. And if you're going to get a $500 million golden parachute when you leave your company, or if you're going to get an $800 million bonus or whatever the hell you knuckleheads are getting, then you should get the share of responsibility when shit goes south. Because guess what? Somebody's going to have to start taking the fall. Somebody's going to have to go to prison. It's the only way these disgusting scoundrels are ever going to be shown that there are repercussions for their actions. The foundation also got shares in the Morgan Stanley-led October 2016 deal for ZTO Express, the Chinese delivery company. Other banks may have provided shares to the foundation in the deals in which Morgan Stanley was not the sole underwriter. Imagine how all these banks that were in business with Epstein, all of this preferential treatment, and now times that by a huge number. And that's how many scumbags right now as we speak are getting the same treatment that Jeffrey Epstein got. I bet you that Peter Nygard guy got the same sort of deals and IPOs from his wealth management bank. And what, nobody knew what he was up to? Please, stop it. These people run around all day telling us that they're the smartest people, not only in the world, but in the universe. And then they get caught palling around with Jeffrey Epstein, cavorting with Mr. Disgustoid himself. And all of a sudden they're going to feign ignorance, and all of a sudden they're stupid now? Sorry, you can't have it both ways. And guess what? It's time to pay the piper. Morgan Stanley declined to comment. The lawyers who represent Epstein as he fights the federal child sex trafficking charges did not respond to Barron's queries. Of course not. Why would they? Look, again, Epstein's lawyers, the same as Ghislaine's lawyers, knew that their client really couldn't challenge the innocence of all of this. It's all about technicalities. Same thing with Epstein. Try and demean the girls. They're hookers. They're sluts. They were paid. They kissed a boy on their MySpace profile. And that shit worked back in the day, right? That worked. Not now. People are hip to it. And I don't just mean people that are advocates or social justice warriors. I mean people in general. You know how many quote-unquote alpha males I know who are absolutely disgusted by this story and are ready to set the whole entire establishment on fire? A lot of them, folks, and believe you me, we're going to need people like that when it comes to this case and tearing this thing down around their ears. We're going to need everybody. So, it's coming. These people, a reckoning is coming for the so-called elite. Stock offering allocations, which investment bankers give out to their important customers, are some of Wall Street's most sought-after prizes. The recipients can often count on a quick gain, since bankers traditionally underprice deals to make stocks pop in early trading. And listen very closely to what he says here. They're important customers, i.e. not you. Remember that, okay? Not you. When the bankers are putting their shit into gear and their plans into motion, they're not thinking of you. We're air breathers. We take up space, food eaters. They'd be much happier without us, honestly. By itself, Epstein's charitable foundation would seem an unlikely recipient of the allocations because of its small size. The foundation began 2017 with $9 million in assets, with which it made about $10 million worth of buys and sells during that year. Must be nice, huh? Starts the year with $9 million in assets, and then it made about $10 million worth of buys and sells during that year. Jeffrey Epstein had a bunch of companies like this. How many don't we even know about yet? Deutsche Bank is closely examining any business relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and we are absolutely committed to cooperating with all relevant authorities. Sounds exactly like it's from the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family's playbook, right? I am here to cooperate with all authorities. I'm even wearing my right kit, and afterwards we're gonna go and have a soccer match. Ha 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 ha. Said a spokesman in response to a query from Barron's. The bank was an underwriter in one of the 40 deals in which the Epstein Foundation got an allocation. Oh, shocking. Oh, color me shocked. You mean Deutsche Bank was up to their eyeballs in criminal behavior? Come on, stop it. Not Deutsche Bank. J.P. Morgan declined to discuss with Barron's reports that it had severed ties with Epstein in 2013. Gratitude America's 2017 tax return is one of the few public records of Epstein's stock trading. It shows gains and losses on some 50 trades completed that year. The portfolio's gains on those trades lagged behind the market, but the price and timing of the positions show that nearly all of them were allocations of underwritten stock offerings that the foundation quickly sold. Turning and burning, folks. The Jeffrey Epstein special. This guy was no great hedge fund manager, no great investment banker. He was none of that. None of it adds up. Okay, none of it adds up to that. And there has to be another reason why Wexner and Leon Black gave this man the keys to the kingdom. I am not convinced, not by a long shot, it had to do with his financial acumen. Okay? This guy's no genius. He's no Oracle of Omaha. He's not even Vin Diesel's character from Boiler Room. Okay? So, I'm going to need a better reason for why he was in charge of the financials for some of the richest, most successful CEOs on Wall Street. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. And to everybody who has donated to the podcast in the last few days and over the course of our run, thank you folks very much. All right, everybody, I'll be back tomorrow morning. And remember, tomorrow night, we will be live streaming. So until then, enjoy your Saturday night. And as usual, folks, please, if you're going out, do not drink and drive. All right, everybody. I'll catch you later.